let her loose.
Okay.
We'll probably cut out a bunch of it, like just the start,
fine.
just as we, but I like it to be conversational. So first,
Yeah.
let me start out by. This is my
Pour me a glass,
recommendation.
please.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
Yeah. What's the sweet one?
The sweet one is the here, I'll show you. So this one is just kind of run of the mill. Really, it's good bourbon. My buddy Alex got me for that. You.
Which one's better?
Depends on your taste, man. So this one is small batch Texas bourbon. It's called Devil's River. It comes out of Austin, and they actually do this with agave, so it's a lot sweeter. There, just try a little bit of this first, and then we'll move to the stouter stuff.
Okay.
Because we're not gonna.
Yeah, I haven't drank much whiskey lately.
It's all good, man. We're gonna have some more this weekend.
They sell WeldWorks beer where
I'll just give you a taste there.
in Grand Junction now, so.
Ooh, do they?
Yeah, so that's like what I've drank.
Yeah.
I've had like 4 cans in the last 2 months, but they've all been like WeldWorks, I think.
I've developed a very much fondness of.
That's smooth.
I told you it's smooth and it's sweet.
Yeah,
of New Belgium.
Oh, that is sweet.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you want some more?
after?
Pour you some.
Yeah.
Pour you a
let's
full
do it.
glass.
Oh, yeah.
I poured you a taste to start, but I want
Yeah,
to pour you a full glass.
that'll play nice.
Yeah. So let me know when, because I can't see it.
That's probably good.
But I've developed
Small
a
glass.
serious
That's more than I thought.
fondness of New Belgium, the honey orange triple.
Oh, that's
Stout, brother.
Oh, yeah, that's
10%.
That's my wife's favorite.
It's my favorite because I'll drink 3 of them. I'll
Yeah.
just sit down and within the span of 45 minutes drink 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool. Won't be driving. It's
No, I won't be doing anything if I do that.
They're 10%ers, dude. They're incredible.
It's too much. No,
I love those things, man.
No, Brittany really likes that, but that's probably my second favorite non-IPA.
What's your? Oh yeah, you're a big IPA guy.
Yeah,
Big IPA guy.
huge IPA guy.
What
And
are
huge
your
Big 12
go-tos?
guy.
Are you a Voodoo Ranger guy? What is
That's too run of the mill.
That's fair. I don't know anything about IPAs.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's good, but there's better. Like, there's this one from Casey Brewing called Quiet Storm. The reason I remember it's named after a Mobb Depp song.
There you go.
I think, my second favorite Mobb Depp song, but it's got this, like, I think it's like a creepy aftertaste.
Yeah.
And it's like, we just went to this brewery randomly one day.
Yeah.
It's in Glenwood Springs, and
Where's that? Why can't I think of
It's
what
like
that is?
it's like an hour from Grand Junction. They've got hot springs there. Like, a
Oh,
lot
that's
of people
cool.
go there and like spend the night.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a good like couples location. There's
Dude, we
good like
should
day
go.
stuff.
You, me, and
Yeah.
well,
They've got like Iron Mountain Hot Springs.
that'd be so cool.
Yeah, they've got some good stuff.
I want to take Hope there.
They've got like a adventure park and caves.
Yeah.
I haven't been since I was like a kid, so
We should. Hey, if we could find a time to do a couples date there.
that'd be good.
It'd be hard to do because I know you, but it's. I
Well-
feel like it's not super. Just from how you described it, it's not like super traversing like
No.
terrain or anything.
No, it's super easy, and I mean it's only about an hour and a half from Grand Junction. So if you came down and stayed, that's an easy day trip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
be fun.
there's a ton of stuff to do there.
dude, we need to do. I need to
You
come
get-
see you. That's the thing.
Uh-huh.
I need to do. You've been down to Texas now twice, to see me at least, right?
That thought crossed my mind when I was getting on the plane, actually.
Yeah, I need to come see you. I feel
Yeah,
bad.
it's
like
fine.
I really do. Like here's the deal. Now that I'm gonna be in a place where my time isn't demanded all the time, that I be there.
Yeah.
Like besides work, but like
Yeah.
weekends are open, and on top of that, like I'll be 5 hours away, 4.5
Yeah.
for a drive. Like hoping I'll
Yeah.
come visit all the time.
Yeah.
If you're up for it,
Oh, you'll enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely.
I bet I would. And we're gonna be able to do some hunting this year too.
Yeah.
I gotta put in
You
for
thought
tags.
about? I think you're too late. You're looking at over the counter.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I meant. I need to go.
Yeah.
I need to go buy some tags. Right now, I'm trying to
Left
figure
over.
out. I've got 3 people who have offered to take me hunting. So I'm like,
I want to be
Deal.
the one.
no, you can take me too. Hey, look, man.
I want to be the one to take
My
you on the first
freezer
one.
does not discriminate, Jacob.
I know. I want to be the first to take you on your first real big mountain Colorado hunt.
Yeah, I need to get in shape. I'm in
Yeah,
shape.
you'll be fine.
I'm
You'll
in
be fine.
weightlifting shape. I am not in like
You'll be
Colorado traversing land shape.
Well, no, but it's gonna suck no matter what.
It will, but I'd rather
if you-
do what I can to suck less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you just like
But you just
ruck,
gotta go
like if you
do
just
it.
like start rucking,
Yeah.
like by the time I think it's October is when my tags are.
That's when you and me and Mason went last year up in Montana.
Yeah.
We went and that was so much fun, and at the same time, like, y'all were kicking ass, and I was so gassed, dude.
Oh yeah, you were suffering a little bit.
I was like, hey, y'all, we need to stop for a second here. Like, I'm sorry to be that guy, but oh my gosh, dude, this is not easy.
I want everybody to know how ambitious your plan was for this hunt.
Dude, I didn't know
like, we're going to get something in 2 days, then we're going to spend a whole day gunning it, then it's going to be this chill ride back.
I mean, that was my hope. I won't say that's my expectation. That was what I was hoping for, bro.
You kept saying it, though.
I thought I'd speak it into my existence.
I was like, oh, buddy has... And mind you, my last hunt before that was a 12-day...
Yeah.
British Columbia hunt.
I want to talk about that, by the way.
Oh, we can talk all about that.
Oh, yeah.
So that was my most recent frame of reference.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what are you talking about?
Dude,
I was like, it's not going to go like that.
I knew.
If we get one thing, we're lucky.
I knew, but Hope's grandfather had just passed, so I was like, maybe I can just speak this into motion to where it'll be a shorter hunt, because I wanted to be out there I was up for being out there for a full, week. I wanted to. I thought it was going to be fun. I was ready to do it.
Long time.
I know. And we didn't. The thing is, too, it could have been planned better on all parties. We could have planned better, but,
It kind of snuck up on us.
It did. And on top of that, I had just proposed. I had to worry about that. I had just proposed, and on top of that was, I was driving from Texas. So I'm driving, the thing that makes it hard is you got to account for a full 2 days of driving. Yeah. No matter what.
I forgot about that.
So I drove from Texas to Colorado by myself. It was about 14 hours, 15 maybe, if I stopped. I almost took a nap because I was so tired. And then was there for a day. You came in, and we drove that 9 hours through. Honestly, the drive there wasn't that bad.
The drive back was
back was rough, bro.
The drive back was pretty bad.
I was so glad we were in your truck, though, because your truck has way more comfortable seats. I was so cozy.
Yeah, I tried to stay awake that last little bit.
I know.
I couldn't do it.
I
was a mess on that drive.
I was caffeinated well. Because you drove from Loveland. We drove pretty much the same amount within a few days.
Yeah, that was. I think you drove more. You just like driving.
I do like driving.
Yeah,
I
like driving too. So it's like,
we both like driving.
Tough.
Yeah. I was glad to take the wheel for that last bit. Once we showered in Wyoming, that was a good call. I was so glad we did, because you're so nasty after that, man. You're just sitting in the same clothes in mud, and dude, it snowed on us, but it was like a sleet snow. Yeah. That's what really cut it short, more than wanting to get back.
Well, remember when we had to get out of there? It was like a winter storm warning was coming in. We didn't have a choice. So we had to. So I think we were leaning towards cutting the hunt short anyway, just given the circumstance. But I think that would have forced our hand anyway.
Yeah, I'll give a little background.
So we've got a cop out.
Oh, either way, we were probably gonna leave. We were probably gonna leave within the next day or so, but that one, that made it a lot. That forced our hand. But little background on it. Seeley and I last fall, we went hunting with awesome dude named Mason Knight, and I talked about him in my first podcast too. I want him on this one day. He's just an awesome human being, a really cool, crazy human being.
Interesting as hell.
The
best way.
That's yes. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he hosted us for a hunt. We got there. We got there late. I was a little iffy on if we were going to be able to find it because we ran out of service at one point. But
that was fortunate.
It was. But we got there. He had a box tent set up with a wood-burning stove in there, and he just welcomed us in. We got up the next day and went, and we were out there, 2 days total? two and a half days.
It was a short hunt it was a really short hunt for as far as we went.
It was.
But
And
it was
looking
fun.
at it now.
But it was fun.
And we could have planned better. And, like, I know
Yeah.
Mason had to cut it short because he had been out there, like, 10 days or something crazy.
Yeah, he'd been out there a long time.
He'd been out there for a while, and he's like, I'm calling this short. And I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Hope's grandfather just passed. I need to go too. Seeley's like, honestly, yeah. Seeley didn't even buy a tag. He bought a wolf tag. He didn't even buy an elk tag.
I like the predator hunting.
I get it, man.
Yeah.
But we went out there. We had a really good time. We didn't get an elk. We were hot on one's trail for a little bit and lost it. And then after that, we called it a night, and a big winter storm came in. So it forced us, but we were probably going to call it anyway. And we had to drive through the night. What time did we start? Like 9?
I don't think we started that late. I think, but it was evening.
It was evening.
It
and
was
we
7
drove.
it was at least 7 or 8. It could have been 9.
It was like, but it was a 9-hour drive too.
What time? We got back at like 4.
Yeah. So we probably started at 7.
Probably 7.
Yeah, we left
which
at
was
7.
late. Yeah, I don't think either of our ladies were happy with us over that one.
No.
Yeah.
Hope was, I hopped into bed and you hopped on the couch. And
Yeah.
that was, brother bear. That was a bear, man. I was like I said,
Yeah.
so we ended up stopping off in Sheridan, I think it was, to at a truck stop. Casper. That's what it was. We hopped off in Casper to shower, and Celie almost paid like $40 for a shower because you were trying to buy 2. And I had already bought your shower.
Thankfully, it turns out you can return a shower,
You can refund a shower.
which is good because I didn't have a lot of money at the time.
Yeah, we were. I mean, neither of us are still in that spot yet, but we're getting there.
Well, I still don't have a lot of money, but
Me neither.
a little more than then at least.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But we ended up getting home super late, and we had a good time. Like, we had a great time, but it was, looking at it now, especially once I'm going to be living in Colorado for the next 3 years, we have the potential to plan some better hunts.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would really like you to come along on, even if you couldn't get, even though you're not going to be able to get a tag, come along on the hunt we're going to do. That's going to be like.
Talk about it.
So I got tags for, I don't remember, I suck at dates. It's in October. It's First Rifle. I believe it's First Rifle in Colorado is what I put in for. I thought about it when the draw was and haven't thought about it since. But we're gonna backpack in. We are gonna get somebody to pack our stuff in, but we're gonna be out there for about 5 days. I've got a bull tag. My dad's gonna help me.
Yeah.
Up in the flat tops. We're gonna try and I think we're gonna be able to get where a lot of people probably aren't as willing to go. Just with after we did the BC hunt, we it's like hunt. We basically want to hunt hard or not hunt at all.
Yeah,
which is funny.
The fun hunts for you aren't the ones that are easy. They are now the ones that are just insanely difficult.
I want a big bull, but I want it to suck.
Yeah,
to get it.
You want to earn it.
Yeah, just because. What's fun? I mean, like I said, that BC hunt was my point of reference, and that's crazy because it was my 4th hunt of my life.
Yeah, you really got baptized.
Actually, it might have
fire.
been my 3rd.
Seriously?
Let me think.
Because you had the one where you took the.
I mean, it was.
I think
it was the third. It was the 3rd or 4th. It was the 3rd or 4th time I had been actually hunting.
Yeah.
With a tag in my pocket, but so we're gonna be out there 5 days. We are gonna get somebody to bring our stuff in. Just.
Are y'all hunting for elk?
Yeah, it's bull tag.
Okay, sorry, you said that. I apologize.
Oh, you're good, but yeah, I think we've got a good chance.
Yeah,
I think we need to get back up there in September and relocate them, and
I'd love to commit to that.
They're gonna start getting some. I think they're gonna get pressured and maybe move around. I don't know that area super well. My dad he used to work for the Forest Service up there when he was in college, so he knows at least the trails and stuff pretty well. So yeah, we'll see. I think this is a good year. We're gonna put in the work ahead of time too, and
that
actually falls on a really good date for me to be able to go. Yeah, the school so I won't. The school's on fall break.
Oh, cool. That's like Thanksgiving?
No, it's in October. Since it's in October, they close the school for a Friday.
I got you. That's cool.
Yeah, so we'll get a chance to go out there, and already that was one of the first things I kind of did when I started, which will be official, I'm sure, when this is released. But and then we've been ironing everything out with the new position. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, by the way. Let me say
Thanks,
that too.
Man. Congrats to you too.
I'd love to commit to that, but I'll be a newlywed and start my job the week before that. So, and
I'm saying we'd love to have you.
I appreciate it.
I don't know how realistic it is.
I think a year in, I'm gonna have a lot more control of my schedule. Especially Fridays. I could take a Monday off and then leave a Friday or something like that. But I really got to earn my keep that first year, because it's 19 weeks straight of training to get your certifications and everything.
Oh, shoot.
So and that's kind of
can't miss that.
It's super important. So. But no, I mean, it sounds like a blast, and it's something I want to do. But I think if I'm being realistic with myself, just given that I got the wedding and I've got moving and I've got the new job and everything, which I need to sign off on tomorrow. I haven't signed the offer letter yet, but hoping I were going to go through it at some point. But I think this is probably going to be more of a meat season. Just where you can. Like my uncle-in-law to be, he's got a herd of elk that comes to his backyard in Loveland. So it's like, pick your favorite,
What's going to look good on the wall?
Yeah, dude. What's going to look good in the freezer,
Yeah.
That's where I'm at for this year.
How good a cow tag then?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
They're better eaters.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, is I'm with you. I want to earn, when it comes to a bull, because I was talking to Grant about this and somebody else, but when it comes to he was like, get a bull tag. I'm like, nah, I want to earn my bull, man. Meat in the freezer is meat in the freezer, and it eats the same whether you went and hiked up a mountain or got it in your backyard. But you look at that bull or that big old buck or whatever, you want to know that you earned that thing.
Yeah, I'd shoot a 360 plus inch elk anytime if I were allowed to.
Yeah.
But it'd be that. But to put in the time to actually be out there and do it the hard way would be better.
I have aspiration to take one with a bow one day, dude. That'd be so cool.
Well, yeah, I've never done that, but that experience,
eventually.
Everybody in my Bible, I've told you this. Everybody in my Bible study, pretty much everybody, and you, pretty much everybody bow hunts. So I'm gonna get one at some point. That experience I've heard is just different.
You ought to, man. You ought to hit your buddies up there so it shields and tell them to start looking for you in the pre-owned section.
I get good deals in Junction though.
Oh yeah, that's fair too.
Yeah. Do they have a? That'd be good.
I'm just saying. I know
I might go look when I'm up there for the wedding.
Take a look, man. Because
I gotta say what's up to my old
for sure. Yeah, but those pre-owned, man, the bow I got is a $2,000 bow from 2023 or 2022. I don't remember, but the guy shot it ended up bringing it back, sold it, and they put it through its paces to make sure it's still good, and then they put it on the floor. I got it for $750, and it's a lefty.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you can get a really good bow for cheap, and especially as a beginner, because I'm a beginner, right? If I was a 10-year, 15-year archery hunter, it might be a different story. But I got a really good bow. I got a Hoyt Venom 33 for $750. It's a really good deal. So and it was fully decked out, so would be worth looking at.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I'll have to do that.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I'm going to give you a very brief introduction really quick because we're already in it and we're already jiving and rolling, but
you can edit it.
Nah, dude, I love this is how I like to start it. I want you to be comfortable. I want it to be a conversation, but I'm going to introduce you still. This is Jacob Seeley, Big 12 wrestler in the 197 in the heavyweight
University
class.
of Northern Colorado wrestler. Go
University of Northern Colorado wrestler. He is a sports psych specialist, I think, is the best way I can describe your title.
The best way I would describe what I do is that I help build up mental health and sports psych resources for student athletes, and that has opened the door for me to act in a support role where I can support individuals And a lot of times I am the bridge between somebody who's unsure about receiving care and the bridge that gets them to a mental health professional who can actually treat mental illness and mental disorders. And I get to be a part of destigmatizing every part of the counseling process, which is pretty cool, which a lot of good work's really been done. Yeah, but I'm excited to be actually moving into the part where I get to do real counseling as opposed to just supporting. Yeah.
Awesome. And in addition to that, he is a pretty good hunter. Given how many you've been on versus your productivity rate, pretty good hunter, follower of Christ, a very strong follower of Christ. He is a husband. He is a soon-to-be father. He is one of my very dear friends. So I appreciate you spending some time with me today, bud.
Thanks, man. Looking forward to the bachelor party.
Me too. It's going to be a fun weekend, bud.
Yeah.
The main reason, I think I've shared this with you, but I like to say it still and reiterate it. The reason I started this is because I want the opportunity to showcase some really cool people who have poured a lot into my life. Right.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about your wrestling career. I want to talk about what drove you to go into the career path you're into now. I want to talk about, what makes Sealy who he is. I want to talk about Christ. I want to talk about your wife. I want to do all of it. Right. And I know we only got so much time, but
no, we don't. We got nothing but time.
That's true, man. We can go. It's
only 11.
It's only 11. We'll get started.
Yeah.
And we got whiskey, and we got everything we need.
She doesn't. I bet she's asleep.
Oh, she's passed out.
I bet so. She's pregnant, so.
Fair enough, dude.
She gets pretty tired.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's not like she's growing somebody in her or something.
Yeah, it's exhausting. So I feel bad that I'm not there.
Yeah. Hey, I'm glad you're here, though. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
This is gonna be good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't miss this.
I appreciate it. So to start, I want to talk about, you and I met in college, both went to the University of Northern Colorado.
Yep.
You're a couple years older than I am.
But you look older.
I do look older. I look a lot older.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to start by talking about how you got to UNC. I want to start by starting at the beginning of wrestling, right? What got you into it, and then how you got to UNC, and just go over your career highlights.
My dad was a wrestler. I come from a family of wrestlers, so I think it was inevitable that I was going to be a wrestler. It's also my namesake, Jacob, in the Bible. Jacob wrestled with God.
Yes, he did.
And so the namesake makes a lot of sense, especially when you actually look at Jacob's life beyond the part where he wrestled with God.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of factors, it was pretty inevitable that I was going to wrestle. And in high school, I think what changed everything, I won a state medal my freshman year, which was a pretty big deal at the time. My goal was to be a 4-time state champ. Thankful for the one, but ended up getting one and ended up having a pretty stellar high school career that culminated with,
I'd say so.
especially my dad, think back on that year, it was pretty special what we were able to do and what we did and how much fun we had, doing it. I was a state champ, but Virginia Beach champ, senior nationals, Fargo champ. It was like you would think of it as, I think it's U18 now, U18 nationals held in Fargo, North Dakota. That was a dream come true. Hold the stop sign up in front of everybody. Yeah. Stop sign's it's an octagon shaped plaque.
Cool.
I actually got those in my new house now. That was fun.
Nice.
I'm figuring out a place where to hang them in my office. Or if I hang them in my office at the school, just because they're super cool.
Yeah.
And it's a really special thing to have one, and I've got two, which is really like two of the big ones, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I think what got me to Northern Colorado and it made me a fairly highly touted recruit was like the end of my junior year, and was having a really like pretty breakout sort of season, and like placing at everything. Hadn't made the jump to where I was winning everything like I was the next year, but Nickerson sold me on a vision that we were going to build something great here in my home state, and I believed in him. And looking back on it now, I'm super glad I did believe in it, and got to be a part of building the program that saw Andrew Ramirez win a national title. And it was super special to me because even though I didn't win, I really saw, I really felt, my piece in, making it a place where you could do that was important. And
you were pivotal to that process, man. Like I can say from a third-party bystander who knows, who is a novice when it comes to understanding of the sport, right? But I was friends with a lot of the wrestlers, right? And I saw how all of them regarded you as a teammate, as a person, as essentially like, I would say big brother in a way, You were the big brother of the wrestling program. You kept everybody in line and took care of everybody and poured into people everywhere you could, which was awesome.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, man. But, going into your career at UNC, right? Because I don't want to just glaze over it, because you were, correct me if I'm wrong, you were a tournament qualifier at 2 different weight classes.
Yes. 3 times at one weight.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew 197 was your main one.
Didn't qualify at heavyweight my last year.
Oh, okay. I got you. My fault. Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 out of the 5 years I had a chance. I didn't qualify. Or I did qualify.
Right.
The last 2. Wasn't able to.
Got you.
We can blame it on my advanced age because I was there so long.
You were there a while. You were there longer than I was. That's saying something.
Sport never gets easier. The guys, young guys were really coming in and really ready to wrestle. I think there were 2 true freshman All-Americans at my weight.
Yeah.
My last year at 97, and one of them was the national champ. So wrestling. We're in a golden age of USA wrestling.
Dude.
So,
dude, it's insane.
Qualifying in itself is a tough process, and
no doubt,
I was one of the top guys in the country for a long time. So it was tough. It was never guaranteed. So
no, but to be able to hang your hat on the fact that you were a extremely talented wrestler at a high level program for so long is nothing to sneeze at. Like I know you didn't take it as far as maybe you would have liked to, but I don't want to glaze this over. Like if somebody's listening to this, y'all need to know Jacob Seeley's a badass dude, man. He was a stud of a wrestler. So I just want to clear that. Like if you won't say it, I will. Right? I just want you to know that now.
I appreciate that.
Of course,
I had a good career.
Yes, thankful. You did. Had a lot of injuries. Or just one main injury that was
the beginning of my career had a lot of my last 2 years were the healthiest of my career. The first 5 had quite a few injuries. Actually, that was.
Walk me through some of them. If you're okay with it.
First one was shoulder. Well, I guess technically the first one was a knee, but I don't even count that one, even though I got surgery because they just cut my meniscus out, and I think I was wrestling again in 2 weeks.
Yeah. God dang, dude.
Well,
just casually, I was wrestling again 2 weeks
well,
after
that one's
they
funny.
cut my meniscus out.
Well, that surgery's funny because you can walk on it out of the hospital. They have to wheel you in a wheelchair for liability,
reasons,
as a cover your ass policy, but. I got it back home in Junction. I walked straight down the stairs to my bed to go to sleep. It wasn't a big deal. Then I went out with one of my buddies, my high school buddies, Jordan, to go to Chili's that night. It wasn't a big deal. I was sore for 3 days, and it was fine.
But we were craving an awesome blossom, and we had to get out there. And
the 2 for $20 was still a thing at that point before inflation.
Chili's was the best, dude. Hold on.
Yeah, and it's never been the same. No. And it's never been the same since. The 2 for $25, was the same thing, but it was okay.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, okay, it's like $5 more, but I was a big boy at that point. Like, if I want the 2 for $25, I can do that.
Yeah.
But then now they've changed it, and
you got the 1, 2,
you get
3
less
for me.
crispers. You get less crispers because you shouldn't even need to look at the menu when you go to Chili's. You're getting honey chipotle chicken crispers.
Correct.
You're getting ranch, and you're getting street corn on the side.
Agreed.
Every time.
Absolutely.
And if you're not getting that at Chili's, you're wrong.
You are incorrect.
In the words of Jeff Butler, if you're not doing insert whatever, you're wrong.
I love Jeff. I want Jeff on this one day too, bro.
Jeff would be legendary on here.
But that was the
first injury. The next one was a real injury.
Yeah.
Dislocated my shoulder in practice. Dislocated it again. Decided to pull the plug on the year and get surgery. Had a pretty big mental health battle in there, which I think plays a lot into what I do now.
Yeah. That is something I'd like to talk about in whatever detailed capacity you want to, but
we can talk about that. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with it now.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we don't have to right now. Keep going through the injuries.
Next one was a shoulder, dislocated it like a week from the anniversary, a week short of the anniversary of my surgery. Blew it out at Iowa State. Thankfully, and shout out Dylan Gable for pinning his guy right before I wrestled. And like it worked out to where 197 was going to be the last match of the duel.
Yeah.
Understand how mad I was that I couldn't finish that match and finish off that duel win with an exclamation point, because I would have. I was winning by a large margin.
Right.
It was was going for the bonus points.
And it popped out.
And popped out. You got to understand, I grew up an Iowa Hawkeye fan.
Yeah.
So I had dreamed of wrestling in Hilton Coliseum, beating up Cyclones.
Gotcha.
And this was my chance.
Yeah.
And granted, I was in a different singlet, didn't care. This was...
I'm going to whoop up on Iowa State. Yeah.
I was wrestling in Iowa State's venue. Their guys are over there. And I get to try and beat the brakes off of them.
Yeah.
So... the fact that I didn't get to finish that match, I technically lost that match, and they pulled me. I mean, the dual win was sealed, and like there was no guarantee they were gonna get my shoulder in within a minute and a half. Like what? Right. Like that was the smart move.
Yeah,
like
it makes sense.
Like the team had done its job, and my shoulder had done its job. The rest of me wouldn't have been able to finish my job.
Yeah.
But, then had it come out, next match I wrestled, which ironically was the first match of the next duel. So within like 40 seconds of regulation of matches that year, my shoulder came out twice.
That's so
given
tough.
that it was within like a month and a half.
That's so tough.
But finished that year, managed to qualify for NCAAs and win a match at Big 12 somehow with one arm.
Yeah.
And
which is nuts too, by the way.
That
is nuts.
Dude, I'm lucky the North Dakota State guy just shot with his head down twice on me.
Was that when you knocked the guy out, or was that?
No, that was a different tournament.
I thought so. We'll keep going, but I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah. So and ironically, when I wrestled that guy healthy, he actually beat me. So, hey, Cordell Eaton, tough cookie, man. But tough dude, very hard nosed. Yeah. Very hard nosed. I didn't like wrestling him. He was hard to score on. Yeah. So if he's listening to this, shout out to him. Didn't like wrestling you. You were tough. That's a compliment.
All right.
But finished that year, qualified for nationals. I had some good wins earlier in the year when I was healthy. Slid in with an at-large bid. Didn't win a match at nationals, but at that point we were just trying to get I think we knew my chances of getting on the podium were slim realistically. Sure. And just that was at half. I mean, I was at maybe 50% of my health, and just glad I finished the season. Right. Next year didn't have an injury that really kept me out, which was great. A little bit tougher of a year in terms of the wrestling. Just one of those, just had a hard time finding ways to win, but managed to sneak into the national tournament because I had some nationally ranked wins in there, and and had some flashes that were pretty good and did just enough to qualify and won a match at nationals and poised for what I was hoping would be the next two. So no injuries that year. Then I had my foot the next year.
Yep, I remember that.
In the middle of what was definitely my best season to that point.
Yeah. Was the Nationals correct? I apologize for interrupting.
You're fine.
I'm trying to figure out the timeline because this is where was that 2020 in
this
Nationals?
was 20. This would have been the 2019-2020 season.
Okay, yeah, got you. So it was going into 2020 when it got shut down by COVID, and you were at the Rio that night. You remember that?
Yeah.
Came back.
Yeah.
You were like, dude, I'm so upset. I'm going to the Rio. I tried to join, and I was too young.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I think it got canceled on like a Thursday.
It's crazy.
And so, like, the Rio had good deals on margs. So
yeah. I tried to join, man. I wasn't even going to drink, but they wouldn't let me in.
So all the wrestling guys went out and had a few and just
rightfully so.
Kind of let loose because we'd all been pretty focused in for 6 months.
For sure. Yeah, you were on a campaign. I was just trying to get the timeline right because that was right around COVID. Because then wrestling didn't get canceled for COVID.
Yeah, it did.
It got Nationals did, but I'm saying like
Big 12s.
That season though.
No.
Hold on. The 2020-2021 season did not get canceled for wrestling though.
No. So this was before that. So this was
2019,
New Year's Day. Yeah, New Year's Day 2020 is when I blew the ligament out in my foot.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
And that really in this weird thing where I wasn't even touching the guy.
Yeah.
Who happened to be the number 2 ranked guy in the country, who ended up being the number 2 ranked guy in the country after that.
Yeah.
And which sucked because I was wrestling that match. I was wrestling really well and I had a chance to win.
Yeah.
And but came back for that for Big 12s and I think probably had the best tournament of my career to that point, feeling really good going into nationals. Then obviously we all know how nationals in 2020 went. It didn't happen. So and that sucked because that would have been in arguably what would have been the most historic venue in wrestling history.
Absolutely.
U.S. Bank Stadium. That would have been. It was going to be cool to be a part of that event.
Yeah.
But then
so hard.
But that was pretty much it for the injuries. And so that was also the last time I qualified for nationals was 2020, which kind of sucked because I planned on wrestling in it at least one more time and having to run it, being All-American national champ, especially with how well I had wrestled 2019, 2020. And so, I think in some ways that year was a little disappointing.
It was wild, bro.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I remember watching you were lights out that year too.
Yeah, I think that affected me a lot, knowing how lights out I was. And then, I think, obviously everybody's training situation changed, but I think it was especially hard for me for some reason that I still don't really fully know, but it was disappointing.
I can't speak for you. I think if I were in that situation, because that happened right at the middle point of my football career. Right, so I graduated in high school 2017. I redshirted fall of 2017 for football. I played 18 and 19. I was hitting my stride, right? Of like I had started half the games in 18, and then I started all the games in 19, playing well. Coaches got fired. COVID happened. We missed a whole year of ball. 2021, 2022 was just weird. But if I were on the tail end of my career in college, like just of what was available, I think that would have messed with me a lot in the way of, hey, like, there's I would start seeing that there's a lot more life outside of football if it had happened to me later on than if it would have been middle of like it was for me.
Yeah, which I think it's funny you bring that up because I think in what I do now with working from a sports psych perspective and with athletics is, one of the things like the balance I think you fight with becoming really secure in yourself outside of sport as an athlete is how do you not like become complacent, like,
Yeah.
you know, because like the goals you set are still important.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this balance here of like, yeah, I'm really secure in myself if it doesn't work out, but like, so where's the fire to still want to be the best you can be and have it matter for you a lot. So, and I think reflecting on it, I realized I think I had walked this balance at one point. I don't think I think it took me reflecting on it.
Sure.
Though, and honestly into my work and going, I walked this road. I've looked at very academically for in my professional career.
Right.
Yeah. So
my thoughts towards it, like just in my reflection of it, was I had a family and friends that always pointed me to the cross and constantly reinforced that I was so much more than a football player. And that's a blessing, because even at times I didn't believe that, right? I believed that my value was strictly correlated with what I could produce on the field when I was doing bad, or when I was in these moments where I wasn't performing the way I wanted to. It impacted my self-esteem and how I viewed myself. But I still had Christ through that, and had to constantly remind myself that, hey, no matter what, how far I take this, I could take this to a 20-year career in the NFL. And it would be dwarfed by my identity in other aspects of my life, would dwarf who I was as a football player, right? Because at the end of the day, I am a follower of Christ. I'm a brother. I am a son. I am a friend. I am a significant other now, about to be a husband, and eventually a father. All of those, like,
you had
as an athlete,
those other aspects of your identity were strong.
But imagine that,
which
like,
is good.
But imagine not having Christ and having to give up, or just have to come to terms with this thing that I've given everything to, just not panning out. Like, I feel like that would make it way more difficult than I can imagine. Yeah,
that definitely would.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that balance was always a little harder for me, because that all was developed later.
Yeah.
Like, once I was already in college,
Sure.
like that became important to me later. And
you were also exceptional, and I think that makes it harder. Like,
I think so much of my identity was wrapped up in it for so long that I think even now in like my work, I still, I still have to direct myself back to truth there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so it's definitely transitioned to other realms.
Right. And that's fair. But what I mean by that too is you took wrestling further than I took football, because you were at a a good program and a top conference in wrestling, qualifying for the best tournament, like the tournament of the best. I was playing while we were at the same school, and I was playing in a conference that was the top level of FCS football. I was not at an Alabama or a Georgia. And I think, and on top of that, we weren't a winning team. Now, I'm not saying that with regret or remorse. Like, I'm proud to be a Bear. I'm proud of all that I accomplished, and I was a good football player. I wasn't if we look at the average of people that play football in total, I was a great football player. If we look at the average of people who play in college, I was a decent to a good football player. Yeah. But, like, just I call a spade. I hope my son is better than I am. I hope, like, all of that, right? You want better for the people that come after you. But like, I imagine if I was to the extent you were of an athlete in my craft, I imagine it would have been more difficult for me too.
Well, I think it has more to do with my socialization.
Sure.
Just, my ideal timeline when I was in high school would be that I would be competing at the Olympics right now.
Yeah.
2024 and 2028.
That's awesome.
Or 2020, 2024, and 2028.
Yeah.
Like, that was really, like, until the first injury, that was really my only focus in life.
Yeah.
Was doing everything I could, like, not only to be an NCAA champion, like, of course I was thinking about NCAAs, but, like, I think, thank you.
You're welcome.
My true pursuit was of Olympic gold.
Yeah.
And, like, I would have done anything I would have done anything to get there.
Yeah.
I would have if anything, like if I knew something was going to be closer to that, I would have done it.
Yeah.
Which I think ultimately led to my downfall and why I got hurt, actually.
Could be.
Because I was, Brady Molnar would absolutely tell you that was the case, and Brady Molnar would absolutely be right.
I love Brady, dude.
Oh yeah. When I get around to my bachelor party, he's invited.
Hell yeah, dude. I love Brady.
I told my brother to put him on the official list, but yeah, I think like that. I had been thinking about that for a long time. Mm-hmm. I think long before it was ever even a real possibility that I could be on that trajectory, just because I think my development accelerated at some point. Sure. And I think especially during that 1 year I've already talked about. Yeah. And like my high school year was like, okay, this is like I think I can be a guy. Yeah. But I think my identity being so wrapped up in it before then, and being so much what I thought of myself from a young age, that had a lot more to do with it, I think, than just wrestling for a quote unquote good program. Right. And I think at the time a rising program would be a better way to put it. That's fair. Just because I view it as a good program because of all that you contributed to it and where they're at now. But that's fair. At the time, it was a rising program. It is a good program. Yeah. And I have a lot of thoughts on NIL and how it hurts programs like the one I wrestled at. That's fair. And
almost lost all the res to it.
Yeah. Amazing that they've got the financial firepower to keep him.
No kidding.
I definitely don't blame Boo for entertaining other offers.
Exploring the options. Yeah.
Much more money. Boo's my friend first and foremost.
I love Boo.
I support Boo.
He said he'd be on this one day. Once
he
I'm
did?
Up there. Yeah, he said he'd be there. Dude, him and Xavier do a podcast. You see that?
Dude, did you see
970 show?
They were talking about. Well, they didn't disclose it, so I won't either. But I know when they were what they were talking about. Mm-hmm. They're talking about this altercation Andrew got into, and X walks around the corner and goes, "Pooh, what are you doing?" And he just goes, "I'm banging, fool." This is the most Andrew thing I've ever heard.
I love that guy, man. Like, we didn't get a chance to get super tight in college,
He's a good dude.
And now I feel bad because it's like. He's kind of like Theo. You remember Theo? Like, to me, Theo on the basketball team. And I don't mean like they're... Yeah. I don't mean like they're alike, but Theo is also a person that I had wished I had gotten more time with, to hang out with. Mm-hmm. Boo is that way. But now I feel bad, and I've told him, like, I want to hang out. But, like, I feel bad because now he's, like, so big, and everybody, like, talks about, like, he's this big deal. I don't want it to seem like I'm out here just...
like you're jumping on.
Yeah, I'm not trying to jump on the bandwagon.
Trying to catch some clout.
Exactly. I dapped him up before then. It's just, like, we weren't super tight yet. And so, because, I was tight with you, and then I was really tight with, like, Dell and Allen and those guys, But I just didn't really hang out around Boo. But he said he'd be on this, so I was like, yeah, we'll do it. That'd be fun.
So he'd be a good one to have. Yeah, on. He's a funny cat.
Absolutely. X said he'd be on it too. X is doing MMA now, which is cool. Like,
got a win a couple weeks ago.
W, man, that was cool.
Not. I'll be the first one to say, I'm not. I won't say the word. I'm not surprised.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say I'm not impressed. I was like, damn, surprised. You go. I mean, I don't know about wrestling. Y'all probably. Like,
I know my wife's pregnant, but X is my first son, so I'm super. I can hold. I hope he hears this. I count on. I wouldn't need 3 hands, but I do. I wouldn't only need 1 hand, but I can definitely count on only 2 hands. Yeah. How many points X has scored on me? Well, I might be overselling that a little.
He's
bit.
also got some hands, bro.
And I don't want to rematch because I'm out of shape.
I saw some highlights of him, dude. He's got some hands too. Like, that's the thing now. Like, wrestling's one thing, dude. I told him because I want to get into martial arts at some point, just because I need something to quiet the voices. But
slightly terrifying.
Oh, no, it's fine. I make that joke at work all the time, and I forget that I'm in corporate America.
I can pull out the DSM-5 and see what the diagnostic criteria
Dude,
for schizophrenia is.
let me know. Because I make the joke all the time when new people come in the office. I'll, like, look over to my friend and be like, hey, do you see him? Are you sure? I'm a little suspicious of new people. Like, but no, I talked to X a while back and was asking what kind of gyms were up there because I want to get into like Muay Thai or kickboxing.
Oh yeah, you told me this.
And yeah, dude, I told him I'd spar him. He'll kick my ass, but I told him I'd do it. Like, you know.
Yeah, X is gonna have a good MMA career for sure.
He's solid, dude. I wasn't surprised.
No,
I don't want to say surprised, but I was impressed. Does that make sense?
Oh, on his fight?
Just how
how
I didn't expect him to be, because I didn't see all of it, but I saw some highlights of it, and he was a more complete fighter than I had expected. I thought he was going to be way more wrestling heavy, but like had some good striking. He still had really good striking too. That I was.
Oh, he's had that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
He's had that. Yeah, I'm sure it's gotten better.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's been training that for a long time.
I told him I wanted to train with him.
He's ahead of. I'm sure he's going to be ahead of schedule in his MMA career, and
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the higher leagues.
That'd be cool.
I think
that'd be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
He's
at
a
all.
dog, dude. I want it, but yeah, he said he'd be on it. You need to listen to their podcast sometime. It's pretty fun.
I have listened to.
Have
it.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, they're my guys.
I figured so, but
I had to
you
give it a
looked at me
listen.
like you were surprised when I said that they had the 970 show, bro.
No, yeah, I watch all the clips. I haven't watched all the episodes. I think I've watched 2 or 3.
I've watched a handful. I haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't even say handful because they've only got a handful out. But I've seen a few.
I hope it catches on because that's what they're really like.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like having a conversation with them.
That's what I'm trying to do with this.
Yeah.
Like real talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be posting after
normal.
this, but yeah, I want it to be similar. Like I like their aspect because they've got a host, like 2 hosts, right? So they're able to just talk about stuff, but you know, so they're not doing a new guest every week. But but I like the dynamic of their show a lot, and I'll probably end up mimicking some of like, you know, some ideas I get from them, and not stealing, but you know, like I'll probably end up mirroring some of the stuff they do too.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were talking about, I know we went off on a tangent there, but we were talking about your career and how, you know, initially when you got there, it was a rising program. You left, it was a good program. Something I'd like to transition to a little bit, speaking of transition, is can you talk a little bit, because I know a lot of people this year and the last year who had to give up football or give up their sport, whatever. You know, talk about transitioning from that to I hesitate to say everyday job, but into more of a, like, you're taking a step back from athletics and kind of having to deal with that identity of, hey, I'm no longer an athlete, you know, like I'm no longer competing as an athlete.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it personally, but also academically.
Please.
You know, I'll talk about it academically first, and I think there's a number of perspectives, you know, you could look at it through the lens of, but I think one of the better ones is going to be looking at it through the lens of athletic identity.
Yeah. And
so, like, athletic identity, and you know, I think this could be applied to like work identity. I definitely see some parallels with like people getting out of the military, and that being very much of their identity from not something I've studied specifically, but from my interactions with like former service members.
Sure.
So, identity, the way you would measure it using, the like kind of the gold standard of questionnaires for this, it would measure 2 different dimensions to identity, which would be strength and exclusivity. So strength would be like how strongly you identify with your athletic role, and exclusivity would be, is that role like the only one?
Yeah.
So the one that I think is really important is the exclusivity one, because you can have a strong athletic identity, but it's very protective if you have other aspects to your identity that are strong, kind of like you spoke on a few minutes ago. Like you were very secure. You were very secure in who you were outside of football, as a person, as a man of Christ, as family, as a son, now as a fiance, soon to be husband. I think that those are very good protective factors when it comes to the troubles that can come during retirement.
Yeah.
So, the struggle with, and this is going to be especially true for athletes who compete on higher levels, and I think what we're going to see with NIL and transfer portal and with college athletics especially is that this is going to become more and more true, is that the athletic role is going to tend to become more and more exclusive. And I think that's something you're going to see. I think we're going to wait. I think we're going to have to wait and see what studies emerge that would show that, but that would be my prediction.
Yeah.
The trouble with that is, and you go back to, the original, I believe it's like 1962, Erickson's ego identity status, talking about identity foreclosure. So with these higher levels of sport, it's pretty common for athletes to not explore things outside of their athletic role. And so when we think about that in terms of retirement can be like this identity crisis that forces people to restructure their identity in order to achieve their unique identity, which can mirror somewhat of a grieving process, and and not just like a small loss. It has been compared in the literature to like the loss of a significant family member.
Yeah.
So that restructuring process is difficult.
Can I interject? Because I actually read a statistic, and I'm not positive of the exact metrics of it, but what it said was a significant percentage of men, especially upon retirement, pass away within 8 years of retirement. I
would believe that.
A significant percentage. I don't know what percentage it was, but it was enough to kind of raise some concerns or flags. And my grandfather and I talked about it, my poppy, because so he's on my mom's side. He's a Vietnam vet, fireman, did a whole bunch. You met him, obviously, but just for people who are listening. And he's a man's man, let's be honest here. He's a big hunter, big fisher. He stays active. Now he just makes knives and does all these really cool things, builds everything.
Made me a great knife.
Yeah, dude, he's a really cool guy. And he was the one who was discussing this because he had so many friends that passed within 8 years of like that decade after retiring from the fire department. And he was just like, his theory was you need hobbies. You need identity and other things to stay busy.
I'll 100% agree with that.
And keep going. I don't want to cut you off, but I just wanted to interject there. That was because that kind of is on par with what you were talking about.
Yeah, and I think with that population, the generativity would be a better way to talk about it within that population, which can come from either in adulthood, a lot of adults draw this from parenthood, but also from vocation, and it's in kind of what you're doing in the world. Yeah. So when you lose that and lose that ability to be productive in society, feel like you're being productive in society, that there's, if you don't have anything to fall back on, there's probably going to be some consequences. And it's pretty irrefutable the effect that these psychological things can have on our physical health. Yeah. That's proven time and time again. Yeah. I mean, stress is one of the easiest predictors of excuse me.
You're good.
Got a cough.
Yeah, stress is directly correlated with health, physical health.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at things like cardiovascular, different chronic diseases, especially cardiovascular disease and blood pressure, stress is a huge part of that. I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
I mean, stress can develop tumors. It can do so much stuff. Like I've even noticed because it's something I've started taking a lot more seriously as of late. I have a lot more time now to dedicate towards just weight training, which is kind of cool. And it's kind of paradoxical because, like, you know, I had a period of my life where was dedicating upwards of 20 hours a week, damn near, of just weight training. But now it's like
I remember that.
I'm able to just do it myself however I want to. And something I've been reading about that's kind of crazy is how much stress and a lack of sleep and a lack of all these things can impact your performance in the weight room, which is kind of cool. I mean, it just makes me think in performance in anything, right? Like you can literally decrease strength. People will be consuming the exact same calories, the exact same macros, get the exact same amount of sleep. But if they're extremely stressed, they will not lose weight. They'll actually gain weight, which is crazy. Like it's something that I had never really thought of. And I mean, I've been going through a lot of stress lately just because I'm going through a big change in my life.
Naturally.
But I don't think it's impacting me. I've never been somebody who suffers dramatically, I should say, from stress. Yeah. I'm not trying to say that like look at me, yada, yada, yada. It's just not been something I've struggled with the majority of my life. So to experience it on a little lesser than, you know, maybe drastic level, like I can definitely confirm the days that I'm super stressed, you think you're going to go in the weight room and crush weights, right? But I noticed that I'm actually,
how it works.
Yeah, like I was over here thinking like this is decompression, but then I'm like, why can't I move the weight I thought I could? You know?
Yeah, like that would be like an out of the norm sort of thing to happen.
Yeah.
Could happen, but it'd probably be a little out of the norm. Yeah. I mean, hormones are gonna play a role in that too.
Right.
Stress and cortisol. Yeah. So, I mean, there are a number of ways you can look at it.
For sure.
Yeah, but no, ability to but stress is correlated to a number of things that aren't good for us. So. Yeah. That was, I know I interjected again just to kind of keep it going a little bit, but yeah, it is. So I also saw something the other day I thought was kind of cool was, cause when I first saw it, I misunderstood, but the reason our generation right now has, and like I said, you're a big, not just sports psych, but you're a big psychology person. So I feel comfortable like getting your opinion on these things. I read something the other day that the reason our generation in particular has a lot of struggles with, one of the many reasons, has so many struggles with mental health and anxiety, depression, all these higher levels of issues, is because we no longer have the third place. And what that meant was, because I thought it meant third place, you know, like ranking and whatever. Yeah. What it meant was we no longer have a third place of belonging. Used to it was you had job, you had home, and you had a third place of belonging, whether that was, and it's still the case for Christians with the church, but whether that was you belong to a rec league club or my mom used to do bunco, if you remember bunco, but like just had a place where you belonged and were able to find community elsewhere. And people believe that has been almost swapped for social media. I could buy that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good hypothesis.
Yeah. Obviously none of this is proven. It's all theory, but
yeah, well, I mean, it's certainly plausible. I'm gonna go ahead and quote the dean of the school of my counseling program at Colorado Christian, Dr. Burkhart. This isn't going to be an APA 7th edition. Hope you forgive me if you hear this, but Dr. Burkhart spoke on this very well, because like when we look at mental health services as a whole, the profession is in a great place. And what I mean by that is that we have more counselors entering the field, more licensed mental health professionals entering the field. The quality of their education is better. So the question would be, why is mental health in our country in a worse place than it's ever been and continued to worsen?
Sure.
So he, and mind you, this is coming from like a God-fearing point of view.
Yeah.
He said this in going back to a movie. I can't remember what the movie's called. I think 80s Babies would know what it is. But he said we have a nothing issue. And what he meant by that is that essentially there's an emptiness issue. There's an emptiness within us issue.
Yeah.
And, what I equate that to is, a lot of what we try and fill that hole with doesn't actually fill us up.
I agree.
I think that's a very, I think that's, too, like if we were to really I think it's a simple way to look at it, but I think it's but I do think it's very telling of our time in terms of social media, in terms of what, has happened to, the family system.
Yeah.
How we view different things societally. I do think it's very telling. I do think, there's a lot of lies that, people believe, not only about themselves, but I also think it's easy to be misled right now.
It's so easy to lie on social media and convince others that it's the truth. And
I mean lie to ourselves, but I agree with you there.
What I was kind of saying, because I have sisters, you have a sister, I think one of the most detrimental things to especially young girls right now, is the idea, all these fitness influencers that are gorgeous and completely fake and have convinced you that they're natural, and that this is what you should look like as a 17-year-old girl or whatever it is, or 21 or whatever. It's so easy to get wrapped up in these ideas that you're not good enough because look where somebody else is, and play a comparison game. And it's also so easy to go down these rabbit holes of this I believe, the old sayings, ignorance is bliss and out of sight, out of mind, right? Those, when you're subject to an influx of information coming from everywhere in the world at all times at the touch of your fingertips, right? It is so much easier to find things to be anxious about, right? Those are the main things that I've kind of identified in my thought process of you're comparing yourself to others when they're putting on the best possible version of themselves that may even be border on the side of untrue.
I would argue that it's probably untrue.
Yeah,
in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
because it's what I would guess it's probably what sells.
Yeah,
gets views and likes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then on top of that,
overly idealistic.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you're hearing about every single war going on at all times, whether they're actually going on or not. Yeah. And all the fear mongering and all of the, vote for this person, vote for that person, whatever it is. It is no wonder why it feels like everybody and their mom has some kind of something, right? Or something they're worried about, anxious about, depressed about, all of it, And I know we're kind of on different tracks in terms of where we were going, but that's kind of my 2 cents on it, where it's social media is a really powerful and cool tool because you're able to get a lot of information out to a lot of people in a very short amount of time. Yeah. But because of that is a double-edged sword.
Yep. It is. Yeah, no, it is. I think, it's, I wish the access to all this information and all this communication was a good thing, but I think in a lot of ways it's not, and especially for young minds, it's it's a tough thing for minds that are still changing and developing. Yeah, I think considering somebody who's an adolescent, so sorry, but if you're 19 years old or younger, you're an adolescent.
Yeah, sure.
Not really an adult developmentally.
Yeah.
I do think it can be a tough thing. I think you've got to be really secure and got to be really objective in knowing, like being secure about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because there's a lot of people putting those editing apps are pretty good nowadays.
They sure are, dude.
I like those accounts that expose the edits too, and like keep the truth out there, because I think those are a good thing, because I would definitely worry about the young ladies basing themselves off that.
Yeah. That's something I've talked to Hope about, and I've talked to a lot of people about. Like, it is as hard as it is to be a man, because being a man is really difficult, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think we're subject to as much. Like, we have our own struggles that are probably objectively more difficult than a lot of other stuff. But maybe not. It's all different, right?
I think different. Yeah.
We have our own different struggles, but I think body image and body standards are not something that's really placed on us in the same significance as, like.
Through my work, I would actually disagree.
Oh, all right, hit me. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I've seen.
I'm open to being wrong.
I've actually.
I'm pretty good at that.
And granted, I'm a guy. Like, being a guy, more males tend to come to me when in terms of at the university. Sure. But I've actually been really surprised at the number of guys who struggle with it.
Oh,
it's like I know it's one of those things, like I know that men do struggle with this, right, and at a higher rate than you would ever expect.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm one of them. I'll be honest.
To see that many that have come to me, it was really eye opening.
Yeah. And
my heart really broke for them.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, especially for like a male, and just it's definitely different, and my heart broke for these dudes.
Yeah.
And as well as for the ladies struggling with this, because I mean, gosh, like. It's not something I've ever struggled with personally, but to sit there and imagine what that would be like. Gosh, it would be hard. Like, it would be brutal.
To hate what it's like to be in your own skin.
And in that way, and gosh, it would. Oh my gosh, it would be so hard.
Yeah.
So my heart really, when I really saw this trend, like, my heart really broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad, and the only reason I said that was, I'm not suggesting that men don't struggle with it too, because I struggle with it, right? Like, I think it's being hairy is not attractive anymore, right? Like, used to the Tom Selleck era, having a bunch of chest hair and stuff, that was considered. I missed out, because I still got the Tom Selleck chest hair, and that's not really on the table anymore for agreed upon.
Manscaped is doing you dirty right now.
They are, man. They're really benefiting off of guys like me. But I have insecurities, is what I'm trying to say, right? Like, I'm a hairy dude. I'm pale. Like, I got my own issues. I'm not suggesting that men don't struggle with it. What I'm saying is, I feel like the body standards for attraction are a little more ambiguous for men than women. Like,
I think,
little, not super drastically, but a little bit.
And I will say, I think it's, in terms of how it's thrown in the women's face, it is much different. Like that's, I think that certainly plays into how it's different, because in terms of what's out there on social media, that's got to be really hard on the ladies.
I can only imagine. Yeah. And I've seen it firsthand, like how, I mean, I think, I don't even know. I just don't like the ingenuineness of it, of like knowing that a lot of these people probably got plastic surgery, probably did some kind of, like liposuction and stuff like that, and then suggesting, hey, if you just stick to this diet and do this workout program, like, that sets a lot of people up to, I don't know. And I don't even know how we got onto this subject. I think we were talking about mental health.
I think it's an important one, though.
It is, and I'm glad we're talking about it. I have no authority to talk about it, but the nice thing about this is it's my podcast. I can speak my mind. But you have a lot more, and that's why I'm glad you're bringing it up.
I won't call it an area of expertise, but So I'm trying to be really careful with my words.
Sure.
But I mean, it's really important.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when I consider what I do.
Yeah.
And,
No doubt.
just, the trends that I'm seeing in the world societally, like logically, I don't think it's an issue that's going anywhere.
Right.
And one I want to be prepared for.
Yeah,
But,
no doubt.
it's not one I've spent a ton of time on yet. But
Sure.
it definitely did once I started seeing the trend and the trend that I've seen before.
Yeah.
This past year. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but very important.
Yeah. I'd like to take a quick pivot to something we said we were going to address a little bit of, and that is the root of what got you into what your passion is now, because your passion is helping people where they're at in their mental health, and if you're comfortable going into some of the stuff you went through, like I'd love to hear however much or little you'd like to share about what brought you to that point and how you got out of it,
I mean, the first thing I'll say is that I didn't get myself out of it. I was rescued by a God that loved me very much. And when I think about my headspace and where I was, it would have been rock bottom. I did not have the ability to save myself.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have saved myself.
Sure.
But my very loving God came through and rescued me in about the last possible moment that I ever expected him to show up. And turns out he didn't show up. He had been there the whole time. So, I mean, that's the first thing I'm going to say. But, the start of this really ties into a lot of things we've talked about in identity, in how we view ourselves, and with so much of my identity being tied in wrestling, so much of my thought process and achievement, and specifically the NCAAs and the Olympics. I getting hurt was, to that point, one of the hardest thing that I'd ever done, or that ever happened to me, because the one thing I had put my identity into, I could not put my identity into anymore.
Right.
I think, and I tried to put it into the relationship I had at the time, and obviously that didn't work. Yeah. That's a lot of pressure for somebody. Yeah. For somebody to take on, and honestly, an unfair burden.
Sure.
It was, that was certainly wrong of me to do. Whether I ever explicitly said it or it was implicitly implied.
Yeah.
But it led to this summer where essentially everything I tried to put my identity to, that wrestling, that relationship, I'm feeling as though I'm stripped down to nothing. I remember those first days were crazy, and just kind of realizing where I was at, but definitely, but didn't talk to anybody about it. Yeah. That was, I think that was the first would have been now the first sign of trouble, and just knowing myself a little better now. Right. That would be the first sign that, okay, I'm not doing good. Yeah. I'm not talking to anybody. Right. And I'm pretty much, I've pretty much isolated myself purposefully. Yeah. So, and I think the other thing, I think just losing control in a lot of ways. Yeah. Just, I found myself, I don't think it's important to go into like the terrible details. Sure, you don't have to. Of like the different actions or whatever, but there was a ton of moral failure there. Yeah. Like in me doing things that I said I would never do. Mm-hmm. And I just lost control, and sure. And every time this happened, and this is honestly where things got really bad, because I was trying to fill this hole inside me with poison, and all it was doing was just making it bigger, just more gaping, festering, yeah. like it was compounding.
Yeah.
Like every time I did it, it was worse.
Right.
But I didn't know what to do. And the tough thing for me was in being so hard on myself, like no, I come from like a loving family. Like my family didn't reinforce this identity. Like this was my doing.
Sure.
I had a family that told me I was more than an athlete.
Yeah.
I had a family who tell me, you need, like, hey, take days off. Like we love you.
Yeah.
Like whether you win or not. You know my mom.
Of course. Absolutely.
But I mean, I just didn't believe it. I just didn't believe it. But every time I like, especially when the moral failures started to come, that was bigger than the injury or the failed relationship. The ways I was failing morally and the ways I was talking to myself were just becoming darker and darker.
Yeah.
And darker. And I will honestly say, I think most of the way through July, I didn't think I was going to live through the summer.
Yeah.
I remember looking myself in the mirror and saying, realizing the place I was in, but not feeling like I could do anything about it.
Yeah.
I really felt that I was going to commit suicide before the end of the summer, which looking at yourself in the mirror, it was like, was hard in itself because I was struggling to recognize the person that I saw. I didn't love that person.
Yeah.
Golly. And had really started to just accept the fact that I thought this was going to happen. Towards the right around before the end of school was the absolute worst. I think just really exploded, and found myself in this place very alone, very very broken.
Yeah.
And really blaming God.
Yeah.
I because through the injury, I had began trying to follow him, and had some really great teammates that were leading me to it, but I was caught up in the legalism of it and not measuring up. I was I had great role models on the team, but I was comparing myself to them, and like nobody knew that, but I knew that, and I was like, why can't I measure up? And and I think it really hurt my relationship with God through this too, which I think is another element to this.
Yeah.
I think I in some ways kind of abused myself spiritually. Like everybody was trying to pour into me. There was just so much torment coming from within myself. But I remember that night I got the worst it was, like kind rock bottom. I remember I was like, you know what, I'm gonna renounce my faith. I was like, that's it, I'm done. And kind of gave this whole speech like, God, I don't know if you're real, and even if you are, I don't care, sort of thing. And was just letting him have it, you know. And I was like, it's real, it's not for me. And I was like, look at all this, I'm a mess. And I remember the words, and I remember hearing them audibly. I don't know if it was like thunder from the sky or if it was something that I just heard or whatever.
Yeah.
But the words that were said to me, and mind you, everything I just said, these couldn't have come from me. I would not have had an ability to think this of myself. Yeah. Said, I am not ashamed of you.
Yeah. Golly.
Dude, that broke me.
Yeah.
That would break me. And as I'm literally renouncing my faith, like saying I'm done. It was in that moment that God stepped in. Yeah. And the people who might ask, like, why didn't he step in sooner? Truthfully, he probably did.
You got to be in a place to receive it, man.
But I wasn't ready to receive it. Like my heart was not ready. Like this was my most vulnerable time, and it was ready to be received. Yeah. And that was like, and it was, I'm not ashamed of you, and I'm not afraid of you.
That's awesome.
Those are words I would not have been capable of thinking myself. Mm-hmm. My internal voices were, "You're a failure. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be dead at the end of summer.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna wash out. Mm-hmm. You're that guy you were afraid you were not gonna pan out. Just you're the person you said you wouldn't be."
Yeah.
That was my internal dialogue.
Yeah. So
that could not have come from me.
It could not have been manufactured.
And that changed my life.
Yeah.
And that changed my life. And completely changed the path I was on. Like, I was a pre-med student because, let's face it, I was an achiever.
Yep.
And I was in it for the money and the status that would have came with being an MD. And later that year, I took a sports psych class with the late and great Dr. Robert Brewstead. Mm-hmm. And being in that class, around the time as this spiritual awakening I was going through, absolutely changed my course and ignited this calling that God had put on my heart.
Yeah.
And completely changed how I looked at wrestling and interacted with people. And because of it, I understood the gospel wasn't legalism.
Yeah.
It wasn't I had made it about me, and it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so thankful he stepped in when he did. And I'm so going through what the torment I put myself through was hard, but that wasn't God's doing.
Right.
As somebody with free will, mm-hmm. I made those choices. Mm. He wasn't surprised by them.
No.
He let me do them because, for me, true love is a choice.
Right.
But but God's powerful and all-knowing. He's powerful enough to work through those choices that we make for the ultimate good of His kingdom.
Yeah.
And I was really thankful that in hindsight that I got a front seat to that in my own life.
And I think about it from a selfish point of view and from an outsider's point of view, right? Number one, I'm extremely grateful that God worked through your life the way He did, and saved you at that darkest point. Because, man, I think my life alone, just if I'm just looking at my own life, it would be drastically different now if not for you. Genuinely believe that. Thanks, and I don't think I have to tell you that, but I'll own up to that. 8 days out of the week, right? Number two,
just did the math.
I know. It's an old Southern saying, bro. We can't do math that well. Number two, and I think about it now, how much more qualified are you to speak into the lives of others? And something I can't stand, I'm going to say that it's kind of weird. I know God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Mm-hmm. I know that's how He works, but something that I see in the modern day American church, and something I saw growing up in a private school and all these things, is a bunch of false martyrdom and a whole bunch of people who proclaimed to go through a lot of, to be able to relate to a lot of difficulties when their life was abundantly easy. And I know it's subjective. I know it's not comparative, but the people, you look at the disciples were screwed up. Mm. Every one of them had problems. Everyone, like Matt Chandler at my church likes to say that if you highlight most of the very prevalent figures in the Bible, say for Jesus, we probably wouldn't hire any of them on staff at the church. They probably aren't passing a background check. You know what I mean? That's what he says.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
I thought of it like that.
Which I think, by the way, my one thing is, I understand if you're running a corporate company, but at the church, we're in the redemption business. But I get what he's saying.
I see the point he's making.
Yes, I do too. So, but
they weren't exactly stand-up.
We're not Boy Scouts out here. We're not looking at Boy Scouts, and when you look at the Old Testament,
they were some rough fellas.
Exactly, but my thought too is, Jesus didn't come for the perfect.
Yeah.
He came for everyone, and He came to redeem everyone. And I hate what you went through, but I love who you're able to minister to because of it. Does that make sense? Because of what you've been through, you're able to relate and minister and serve
people from a standpoint that somebody who lived a privileged and easy life and never experienced the hardships you experience. And when I say privilege, I don't mean like socioeconomic. I genuinely mean just mentally fit, like just didn't go through the same things. Mm-hmm. You're able to minister to a group of people, a marginalized group of people that otherwise I don't think you'd be able to reach. I think that's awesome in a way.
I will say, I think the qualification, comes from the education and experience.
Yeah.
I think in terms of being somebody who's clinical, like that's how you become qualified. But
sure. I
think what I've learned being in counseling school is that almost every single one of my classmates has a personal stake in why they chose this work.
Yeah.
And whether it was them or they had an absolute disdain for the afflictions that people face, and they couldn't help but step up and do something. Mm-hmm. I think it lights the fire that's behind why people would step into what in some ways kind of is a mission field when you're a Christian going into vocational counseling. Like me and a lot of my classmates are getting ready to do. Yeah. And a lot of the people in my cohort are getting ready to do in a couple of weeks.
Which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The way I'm kind of viewing it is I had two bosses when I worked at Murdoch's behind the gun counter.
Yeah.
I had a boss who was obsessed with firearms and knew every detail from rate of fire per second to feet per second traveled to ballistics to all of it, right? And then I had another guy but he knew it from a book perspective. And then I had a guy who you've met, Blake Briscoe, who knew it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
but he's a combat veteran in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
When it came to advice and knowledge on a firearm, I trusted Blake more than I trusted Christian.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that because, just because you went through, I'm not saying because somebody didn't go through it that makes them not as good. I'm saying that from a personal perspective, I would rather listen to somebody who's been in the foxhole than somebody who's read a book about it. Yeah, does that make sense? Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not saying that
I think a lot of people, and I think a lot of people would relate with that. And I think, I think there are plenty of good, and I've met a lot of classmates who,
they can do it.
Their personal stake is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I think it makes
a lot
you
of people
more effective. That's all I'm trying to say. More effective than you would have been otherwise.
Yeah, and I think in terms of clients, I think, like I said, a lot of the counselor's job is to destigmatize parts of the counseling process.
Sure.
And I think, having a living, breathing example of somebody who has been through it and, disclosing the right amount of that to them can be very therapeutic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know my therapist disclosed it to me, and the therapist that during that time of my life I think was a big part in saving my life was somebody that God had put in place that was a big part of saving my life and is a huge resource to me now that I tend to lean on and consult on as I do this work. And I've had tough days and professionally, somebody that I feel very comfortable debriefing with. Yeah. And and I know for a fact that they've walked a similar road before, and in different ways. Definitely, I think being marginalized, and some aspects to it are different. Yeah. But they were able to relate with me on a very human level that I would not have at the time. I would not have opened up to somebody. That wouldn't have.
No doubt.
Knowing me individually.
Yeah, I mean,
it was very important. And it was very important for me.
Yeah, I was just trying to highlight, I think, because I'm one of those people who I have a harder time listening to people who haven't been there before. I've had coaches who read a book about playing defensive end, and I've had coaches who played defensive end. And I had a lot easier time talking to the coaches and taking criticism and advice and communicating with the coaches who had been in my spot before. That's all I was trying to say. Because I get exactly what you're saying, and I think
I got you 100%
for sure. But
we're on the same page.
Yeah, but man, I do have to reiterate one more time. Like I hate what you went through. I hate that you went through it, because you are not only are you one of my best friends, but you are one of the best men I've ever met. And to know that you had such a hard time it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand it's like, man, I hate that you went through that. But the other thing I like about it is how God used it, because even just from my perspective, it's okay when I'm having a really hard time. Even somebody as awesome as Jacob went through stuff like this. I don't know. I know that's weird to say.
I have a friend who was affected by depression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I have a living, breathing example. Somebody I care about and respect that has walked that.
Yeah. Because misery, you know why people love sad songs and angry songs? Like the songs about
sad songs.
I love sad songs. But the sad Wetzel country song, or whoever, This Damn Song by why can't I think of them?
Oh, that's a happy song for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
When I listen to Honey Pain though by Wetzel, that's
tough.
That's a sad song.
It is.
I remember I posted. This is a total sidetrack.
You're good. Go for it.
But I remember I posted that one night, and I think I was driving back to Junction.
Yeah.
I remember you texting me and went, "You good,
dude?"
I looked at it and went, "He thinks because of that song." And I was like, "You, this is because of my story, huh?" I was like, "I'm good."
Oh, I see people post stuff like
song.
that. It's a great song, and I see people I might be hyper vigilant of it sometimes, but I'll see people post some really it's either a song or a quote or something like that, and I'm like, we need to talk to you, okay, But because I'm not a psychologist, but I just want to be a good friend to people. But the reason people love sad songs is because they love knowing that somebody else felt that way so strongly that is a relatable environment. It was a relatable enough thing that they wrote a whole song about it. To know, because everybody's had a song they heard that while they were going through a miserable time, it described exactly how they felt,
A lot of John Mayer songs do that.
Dude, John Mayer's great, I will say.
I mean,
John Mayer's fantastic.
I think a lot of John Mayer songs are I listened to a lot of John Mayer when I was going in the summer of 2017, which I just told you in depth.
Yeah.
It was actually the first time I saw John Mayer live too, so something very good happened that summer.
Yeah,
the greatest person ever picked the strings of a guitar. You can quote me on that, and I don't think it's that hot of a take.
Leonard Skinnerd. I don't know, brother. I don't know, dude. Honestly, both are fantastic different ways, but
Leonard's going to be up there. I'd put Kirk Hammett too, Metallica up there.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm drawing a blank on his name from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I know it starts with a J, but I mean, anyway.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, yeah, I remember Ed Sheeran too. For some reason, Autumn Leaves. And then when I retired, I remember "Rest of My Life" by Parker McCollum. That one was. And the title is just so fitting.
Yeah. You love knowing that you're not alone, man.
Because you never. Well, have you ever seen a meme about something I thought that was just me?
Yes. Or a tweet, and then I'm we all live the same life, just different versions.
It's you thought that was unique, and maybe you wondered if other people felt that.
Yeah.
And then you realized, other people do feel that.
That's
Rest of My Life.
Yeah.
Rest of My Life by Parker McCollum was that feeling for me when I retired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is honestly, I truly believe is a way the enemy works, by convincing you or letting you convince yourself that your experience is so unique to you that nobody else will understand, so you don't need to talk about it. I believe wholeheartedly that is the way the enemy, one of the many ways the enemy works, and in a way of convincing you that you should not seek help or any kind of counsel and just suffer in silence and isolate.
Yep. I think some of those thoughts that pop into our head weren't ours.
Yeah.
And I think,
and even if they were yours,
and I think cognitive behavioral therapy is a real weapon against that.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm special. Which is why it's going to be one of my main specialties when I go to counseling.
Absolutely.
I don't think all those thoughts we think are ours.
Yeah.
I think the enemy is very good at lying to us. I really hate it.
He is exceptional
about cursed, but
yeah, dude, you can say whatever you want. Like I get you, but
I don't like. Yeah.
What I will say,
just imagine the expletives I would say, but I don't
that's
like.
Fair.
But
I get it. You don't want to present that, and what I'll say too,
there's a war, so
100%. And the other thing I'll say too is I think one of the things the church does that I don't like is. Not just the modern day church, the TikTok church that you see and all these things. Like they say this idea, like, because in the presence of Jesus, Satan has no power. Absolutely accurate. 100% accurate. But let's not downplay the significance of what he can do, because I hate this idea that like Satan is this pitchforked, horned, little red guy that has like, dude, he's
not like the South Park version.
We cannot downplay how extremely powerful he is. What we can do is acknowledge that in the presence of God and in comparison to God, he is a flea. Yep. He has absolutely nothing.
Flea's
but
giving him too much credit.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah,
like
but it's a great comparison.
Yeah. Like he's a flea on the back of a lion is what in comparison to, and that is again upscaling his ability. But
for sure.
But to us, he is extremely powerful unless we are saved and call on the name of Jesus. And even then, like, we will struggle in this life. We live in his domain. We struggle. I just want to make sure, like,
we do.
Like, it's clear. I hate how much we downplay the significance and reality of how powerful the enemy is and how crafty and intelligent. Like, I'm not saying fear it. I'm not, but I'm saying respect it. Does that make sense? Or
understand
it. Respect is even the wrong word, but understand.
And I think what you were along the lines of is understand it.
Yeah.
It's it's something that's really important. I think when we're looking at the world and what goes on in it, because it's funny. I was talking about this with a guy.
You're good.
On the plane, and I shout out Nader if you ever hear it. Like, got a prayer with a stranger today who
that's cool.
Friggin' is on fire for Jesus.
I love it.
And is just, I'm so prayerful of what he's gonna do at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
But this was something we were talking about today because he was interested about, and we kind of got on the topic of where does like faith and spirituality interact with mental health. And I think you can use this lens to look at a lot of things in the world because we're operating in a world with two simultaneous truths that are both true. You've got our sin nature.
Yep.
You got the brokenness of the world and the fallen nature of it. So like in mental health, this would be psychopathology. This would be like mental illness. So this would be like your depression, anxiety. This would, like medical field, you look at like cancer,
right?
Things like that. You could, like any aspect of the world that's broken, hurtful. That's what you're looking at. But at the same time, you're also looking at it with the realization that there is an enemy who hates us.
Yes.
And will work against us at all costs to destroy us. And even though his power is limited, he is trying to hurt us.
At all times.
So when you look at the world, and understanding that, these are the two truths that you're working with.
Yeah.
And so when you consider issues of like mental illness, you understand not only like maybe more of the medical model and diagnosis aspect of it, but you also understand the spiritual warfare side, which, you know, as a counselor's Christian, you cannot ignore.
No.
Because, you know, that part is very real. You know, when I look at residency and the struggles that people have getting there, because residency, like for instance at Colorado Christian where I go to school, and I have just been absolutely blown away by it. It's absolutely fantastic. Mm-hmm. They're not paying me to say this. I'm paying them a lot of money to go there.
So I can say whatever
and
I
I'm
want.
just absolutely psyched at what they've done with their counseling program and the faculty they have. Shout out to all of them.
Yeah.
But when you really look at that residency, how fruitful, how great it is, but you look at all the problems that occur as people try to get there from all parts of the country. Yeah. Like flights get delayed, canceled.
Is that coincidence?
Funds. Is it coincidence? Like it's like that's a lot. Like it's the even in these smaller ways, like it's a big group of believers on fire to fight to enter the mission field of mental health. Like, think the devil's not pissed about that? I bet he's pissed about that.
He's going to do what he can.
He's going to do what he can to stop it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Jesus warned of this. Like, Jesus talked about, hey, they hated me, they're going to hate you. Yeah. And he wasn't just talking about the people of the world. Yeah. He was talking about all the powers of evil. They hated me, they're going to hate you. Yeah. So be prepared, because the life of a Christian is, people have this idea, and in a lot of ways, I think the idea has some merit of this idea that there's a lot of Christians out there who claim the life of Christ, or claim to live a life for Christ, and claim to be saved and all these things, and have experienced zero difficulty. And if you're not having any difficulty in your life at all, and you're really, if you're really living a life for Christ and you got no difficulty, I'm just letting you know, heads up, it's coming eventually. I don't know when it's going to hit.
It is coming. It's not if, it's when.
And I think if you've experienced no difficulty in your life as a Christian, I think you also need to take a look in the mirror of, hey, what am I actually bought into here? Because, and I'm not saying that to judge or discriminate or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, the Bible is very clear. It's supposed to be hard. Yeah. And I think, honestly, when I'm not going through something, I need to use it as a litmus test a little bit. Like, is this a season of peace, or am I not on fire and I'm just complacent and numb, you know?
I wonder that too sometimes with my own life.
Yeah. I had a thought the other day about how the enemy's working. You know, the average attention span of youth right now is up to like 8 seconds. It's something crazy. Well, like 8 seconds will pass. It may be lower. This was in 2017, but like some study came out to suggest that the attention span of somebody in adolescence is 8 seconds before they start thinking of something else, right? On average, right? Which is really low. It might be exaggerated, but here's was my thought. How many people do you know today that actually take time to read? And like not audiobook, but like sit down and read.
I just re-added myself to that list.
That's fair.
I suck at reading.
That's fair. But like, if you had to guess,
I would.
Right.
I would guess. I don't know. Do you have an actual number?
No. I'm just asking what you think. Like, just this is 100% speculation on my part, and I mean of our generation. I don't mean the older generation. I mean where we're at in younger.
I would think most people have trouble slowing down in that way.
My friend,
in most ways.
How does God speak to us the most? I'm holding the Bible for those of you that don't know. Yeah. So that being said, I just had this thought the other day. I genuinely believe, especially in America, because other parts of the world that are living in a society that isn't immediately gratifying and have different struggles, but in an age where where we have everything we could possibly want, we are complacent and we are comfortable, and we have a plethora of just a huge, enormous amount of information and entertainment at our fingertips at all times. Do you think that's coincidence? That because all that does is numb what you are looking at, like your receptors to anything, and reduces your attention span to do anything. And God speaks to us through the Word. Like, the primary way that God speaks to us is through the Bible. He gave us the Word, but if nobody can sit down and read it, is that a success in God's column, or is that a W in God's column, or the enemy's? I had this thought the other day. I could be way off. Somebody could tell me the average attention span is much higher and more people read, and if that's the case, I would love to be wrong. But it was just a thought of mine I had the other day. I was like, wow, yeah, it made me want to get off social media a little more, get off my phone a little more, pick up a book, go touch grass, and start working on, like, diligently reading my Bible and trying to see, like, just trying to understand a little bit further, because I'm definitely in that category of people who doesn't read as much as they should, you know?
Yeah. I would say, and definitely through this season, I'm like, wow, I haven't been in my Bible as much. And it's like, when I think about that, I'm like, wow, like I don't feel as connected to the Lord.
No.
Like I know people connect to the Lord in different ways.
Yes.
And like some people in nature, some people through like prayer or whatever. But it's really important to slow down and like really, really give yourself a chance to surrender in those practices, and to really make time for those, because everything in our world, especially our society in the U.S., says we always have to be busy, we always have to be doing something. It's like it's a little countercultural to slow down. Yeah. So, which as we know, it's really important to be able to do that.
Extremely. Yeah. But yeah, that was a thought the other day. I'm going to pivot again, because we've talked about sports, we've talked about psychology, mental health. We've talked about a lot here. I want to shift really quick, because we're coming up on, probably calling it, and you're going to be on a lot more of these. But I want to talk about you've just entered a new season of being a husband, and congratulations to you.
Thanks.
Brittany is wonderful. And
she is the love of my life.
Yeah.
I think like being newly homeowners, married, pregnant, engaged, all within the course of like 4 months.
Wild.
Is hard, but and don't let me put on this facade like we don't have any problems. Like we've got our problems, but I do have a really good teammate.
Yes, you do.
I do have a really good teammate.
Absolutely. What I was going to ask is just kind of in this time, as you're getting ready to embrace, you're embracing being a husband, and you're going to embrace that your whole life, but as you're getting ready to embrace being a father, like, where are you at, man? Where are you at right now mentally, and how are you doing, and what do you feel, where do you feel like God's taking you right now? And just talk about it a little bit. This is the last thing we'll talk about before rapid fire.
Yeah, rapid fire.
I got some rapid fire questions. Yeah,
there's segments. Okay, I think I will say I don't. I think what has happened in our lives is probably not the norm for most people.
Sure.
I don't. I think we've done it in an unorthodox way where we went and got eloped with the plans to, have a wedding and later be married and be in, like, do all that, like, after the fact, and, like, move in and and really make that covenantal commitment, which when it comes down to it is like what is really said about marriage. Yeah. It's the covenantal commitment. A man would leave his father and mother, and the two would become one flesh. And that's what we were ready to do, and that's why we decided to make the step and get married. And like, it really, when you look at it, doesn't really matter. We didn't feel that it really mattered when we got married. Yeah. But when I consider how much has happened so quickly, I can tell this is like a season in my life of trial by fire. Yep. because, you know, like life is in the whole becoming one flesh, and while also becoming a father. Like, understand, like 2 days after, like we bought our house and moved in is when we figured out we were pregnant. So
Golly.
we were getting ready to figure out how to be husband and wife living together. We had been married but lived apart for like 2 months.
Yeah.
We found out like right after we bought the house, so like a month and a half, 2 months into our marriage, that we were pregnant.
Yep.
So right after we got married, we got pregnant.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And it's also funny because it was close enough, and I'm not like throwing shade at anybody, and I would do the same thing. I know people were doing the math on us, trying to figure out when we got pregnant and if we got married because of that.
Yeah, out of wedlock.
I want to set the record straight. We got pregnant in wedlock. So just want to be very clear on that.
Yeah.
So
Within the parameters of being married.
within the parameters of being married,
Yeah.
we have a kid. We did it right. It was just very fast.
Yeah.
So
Usain bolted.
Ooh,
We're
ooh,
speed
good.
running life.
good.
Right
I got
now.
that off my chest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Got off my chest.
That's so fair, dude. That's so reasonable.
It's super
Like,
funny.
that is-
I would do the same thing. I would be like, not in a judgmental way, but I would be curious to be like, that happened fast. You know, but like speaking to that and it all being so fast, like I'm trying to figure out how to be a husband, and also trying to figure out, you know, learn how to love my wife in a situation where, you know, we've moved in together and we're married, like we're like that all, and expecting a kid, like that's a different level of a relationship.
Yeah.
Like, and nobody's ready for that fully.
Yeah.
I will say that. Like, nobody is fully ready to take that on.
Yeah.
And boy was I not.
Yeah.
Like my, which is fine, because like I said, I don't think anybody's fully ready to take that
No,
on.
never.
You know, I think, you know, a lot of the struggles have come from, and I'll speak to like the struggles of my flesh. Like, you know, it's, you know, my wife has, you know, been like very sick. Like, she's experienced a lot of sickness because of the pregnancy, and like it's certainly like affected like her mood and how she's
Sure.
felt, and, you know, a lot of the ways in which I was accustomed to like being like affectionate and
Yeah.
like romantic and flirty have kind of changed because of that.
Sure.
Which, like, naturally, like, she doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't feel good. Like, she's growing a human. Like,
Yeah.
it's incredibly hard. It can be incredibly hard on you. And like my job, and I had a lot of wisdom from like a friend, a slightly older couple who's been pouring into me and Brittany. But, you know, the man said this to me and spoke so beautifully to where I was at, and really like, and I think what he said was really laid on his heart by the Holy Spirit, just kind of in reflecting on that, like my job description doesn't change.
Yeah. No.
Like she doesn't have the energy to get up and like go get herself water, or like might have to like lay in bed a little longer, going like my job description doesn't change.
Yeah.
Like
So protect
I
and
might
serve
have to
your
do
wife. Yeah.
I have to protect and serve my wife and baby that's to come, and praise Jesus, the baby's healthy and
Amen.
everything's looking good at this point.
Yeah.
But like that can be like, that's a choice you have to make.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, you know, we had been fortunate up to this point. Like, things have been relatively easy.
Yeah.
In terms of our relationship. Like, it was just effortless.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this has been a season more so of like really learning how to make the choice to love each other and be intentional in ways that aren't exactly comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what each of us needs.
Mm-hmm.
And like going through these things that maybe feel a little robotic.
Yeah.
And in order to try and draw closer to each other.
Yeah.
And that's a very humbling thing to do.
I can imagine.
Because, and, you know, I'll speak to like where the like you know, where I've been, like, as a man, like, it's a hard place to be, because, like, not receiving as much affection as maybe you're accustomed to, and still making that choice and fulfilling your duty to your wife. Like, that can be a hard place, but regardless of that, the job description doesn't change. Like, what you're called to do doesn't change.
The covenant of marriage is not conditional.
The covenant of marriage is not conditional. Neither is the covenant that Christ made, the new covenant that Christ made with us.
Yeah.
Like, we're called to love our wife as Christ loved the church. Like, Jesus was spit on by the church.
He was.
They crucified him.
They did.
Like for reference.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're called to be, if need be, and to live that out.
Amen.
So, but I won't sit here and say to do that's super easy. And so I really do think this is a season of growth for us, and in the long run, we're going to be way more fruitful for it. But man, it comes with its challenges, and I think, you know, it's pretty natural with as much change as we've experienced, but man, it's trying. And
I imagine.
My need for the Lord I've realized that my need for the Lord has to increase, and I'm trying to die to myself daily in order to like fulfill my duty to her, and in order to draw closer to the Lord so I can keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like I constantly need refilled. But you know, in the ways in which my willingness to do that has grown, like I'm really thankful for the days where it's going to become like a lot easier to it's going to be easier to do that. Yeah. As opposed to, you know, doing that, you know, it taking some discipline. Because like, you know, like my duty to my wife doesn't change. Like, you know, God's worthiness of my praise doesn't change either. Right. You know, so
I agree. Absolutely.
Like even if I don't feel like it, he's still worthy of being praised. I give him what I have. So.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, it's been a wild season though.
Oh yeah, and it's only going to get wilder. But I can say that nobody's more qualified in my eyes of people I know that are my age group or around that. Like, I can't think of any of my friends that are more qualified in this moment now to be a father than you are. I think you're gonna do such a good job, man. And I, for one, cannot wait to meet my niece or nephew. Cannot wait for that. And I hear Brooks is a really popular name.
If it's a little girl, we can name her Brooke too.
Okay. Yes.
So
I'm in.
Yeah. I think I'm destined for girl dad, and I think I'd make a great girl dad.
You'd be a great girl dad.
So
yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, hey, I'm very happy for you and Britt. Both y'all are gonna be great parents, man. I'm so excited. And
I got a good teammate.
Yes, you do. Y'all got a good tag team going.
Yep.
All right, rapid fire questions. Only got 4. Super easy.
Right. Oh boy.
Stole this from Dale Brisby's podcast, Rodeo Time.
Thanks, Dale.
I love Dale. Dude, if I get to meet Dale one day.
Dude,
Dale's the best. You got to go look him up.
Is.
Yeah, all right. So you're in a 10x10 cell.
Oh, boy.
And it's basically you just in your underwear, right? Like, you just to say you ain't got a lot on you. What's the biggest animal you think you could take with your bare hands and fight to the death? I asked Israel this the other day, and Israel said a lion.
Humans are soft. Not a lion. I'm getting ripped to shreds.
Israel could probably take a lion, but I was still shocked at his boldness.
Israel, you're a great guy, but
nah, he ain't taking no lion.
I'd have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to put you in a cell with a lion. I'm not going to sign off on that. That's too much That's too much liability. I could beat a snake, but that's a tough battle.
Come on.
Honestly, they're
Give me
fast.
a good animal.
They're fast. I'm going to say I'm gonna go with one I know for sure.
Yeah.
Like I think you could put me in a cage with like a coyote and I'd beat it.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Animals are wild.
They're
Animals
different,
are
bro.
Wild animals are a little different. I've got a lot of respect for them.
Oh, me too.
I'm gonna say coyote because the next one up I can think of is wolf, and no.
Yeah, my answer was kangaroo.
Kangaroo, yeah, I'd beat up a kangaroo.
I'd
I had to
whoop a
choose
kangaroo.
a predator. I had to choose.
Oh,
predator.
if we're choosing predators, my answer might change, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's just how I'm thinking of it.
All right, best and worst match of your career.
Best match. My best match was 2020, the Big 12 championships against Stephen Buchanan for sure.
Yeah. And who do you wrestle for?
At the time he wrestled for Wyoming, he wrestles for OU now.
Nice.
Yeah, the dude's had an incredible career. He's looking at being a 4-time All-American next year.
Wow.
And a guy in my career that I've had so much respect for, and a guy and a competitor that really brought the best out of me. Like I'm really thankful that I towed the line against that guy and I got him one time.
That's awesome though.
He got out of 4 times, he got me 3 times, and 3 of them were really good, and 3 of them including the one I ended up getting him in.
Yeah.
Those were really good matches. Hell, even the one he got me by quite a few points was probably a really exciting match. Honestly, the first time I lost to him truly might be my worst match.
Interesting. So the best and worst were against the same guy.
Now that I'm thinking of it, gosh, that was like a crossroads sort of moment for me in my wraestling career.
Yeah.
Where I was like, what's gonna change?
Yeah.
I didn't at the time, we didn't really know much about him. After the match, I mean, we knew he was good, but I mean, what he's done after, that's really hard to predict. We knew he was good though.
Right.
But I remember it was one of the times I just mentally I just broke so badly.
Yeah.
Even when I was ahead, for most of the match, and he ended up getting me at the end in what became a major decision. Yeah. But I remember that was that was truly one of the hardest losses of my career. Yeah. Was honestly against him. That's a good answer. But I definitely knew. But I knew the dude was good, and in hindsight, the guy is really good. Yeah. I'm really pulling. I'm really I really root for him now. Yeah. Yeah. Just he's really exciting. That's cool. It's really just knowing what it's like to wrestle him, and how hard it was. And just how he wrestles is a way I respect. I think the only person who finishes matches or periods better is Jordan Burroughs.
That's fair.
I hold Stephen Buchanan in really high regard.
That's awesome though.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, shout out to him. And I think it's our interactions when I moved to heavyweight where it was really fun, and just ton of respect for him. Man of God too. So
very cool.
Yeah, honored to hold the line against a guy like him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In 2 sentences or less, advice for somebody who's leaving their sport. And you got to stick to the 2 sentences, but just briefly, what would you say?
I'll try and do two bullet points.
Go for it.
Is invest in areas of your life outside of your sport, and if at all possible, do it ahead of time. Do it ahead of time. And 2, find community outside of your sport. Yeah. That's and really good. Find connectedness outside of your sport with people who don't know you as an athlete. Yeah. And they will teach you how to not lean on your athletic ability. Yeah. I think that community and having identities outside of your sport are 2 of the most important protective factors there, and I would argue that it's one of the things that we need to do, not only to help people. I do truly think that people will be their best in their sport because of it if they do that.
Yeah.
But they will also, like, the transition will also be easier if they don't. I really believe it's one of those rare win-wins that you can find in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Last but not least, just give me a piece of good news.
A piece of good news.
Could be anything. Could be personal. Could be worldwide.
I finished the flooring in the last room of my house.
Yeah.
And to tell you the weight off my shoulders that was, and finally have space to work at in my house, like have and like a place to go to, like, stay in my rhythms, and because I'd always like do my rhythms. My discipler, Chris Rainwater,
Yep.
be very big on rhythms
And
water.
Know
Rain.
Oh yes, I do.
The legend, very bald. Love you, Rain. But rhythms are something that I've found are really important to me, and to have a space to be able to do those, but also work from home and be productive was a real piece of good news.
Absolutely, that's great news.
I was very thankful that was done.
I like it.
It was a lot of money. Value
in the small things.
Small things. It costs as much as a big thing, man.
That's fair, man.
It costs as much as a big thing. Gosh, nobody told me home ownership was this expensive. It's tough out there.
My dad. You should have talked to my dad. He would have let you know day one. Old Bart's wise.
Yeah, I knew it was. I just didn't want. I think I knew it was. I just didn't want to believe it.
For sure.
Yeah.
I like to end these in a prayer, just over my guest. Would you join me in a prayer?
Yeah, you want me to start or
no? I got it, man.
Unless
you want, if you want to hop in, you can. But I'd just like to pray over my guest.
What's that?
Sure, let's do it.
I'd like to pray.
Let's do both.
I'll pray over the podcast.
Sounds good. I'll start us off. You finish us off. Sound good?
All right. Yeah.
Dear God, I just want to thank you for this time I get to spend with my very dear friend of coming up on many years now. Just ask that you will just continue to be with him as he steps deeper into his role as a husband and into this new role as a father. God, I just ask that you will pour into him every chance available, that you will grow him and mature him and continue to just forge him into the strong leader he was made to be, and he already is. God, as they progress, I pray for Brittany. I pray for the baby. I pray for both of their health through this process, and that you will just make yourself evident in their lives and just protect them through Jacob and provide for them through Jacob. I thank you again for his heart and who he is, and that he's taken some time out of his very busy schedule to spend it with me this weekend. And I just ask that our friendship will just continue to grow and be fruitful throughout the rest of our lives.
Hey, Lord. Lord, you're so good. You're so good. You're so worthy of our praise. And you continue to show up for us. Not even show up. You've been present in every moment, and continue to reveal yourself in ways that just leave us in awe. And Lord, we need you. We need you. Lord, I pray for this weekend, Lord, the bachelor party. Lord, fill us with self-control, allow us to have a good time, but also, Lord, help us to be godly men of you within it. Lord, I pray for this podcast and the good ways that social media can be used to reach large audiences, Lord. And I pray that, when these mics come on, that, your spirit would be evident, Lord, and that, you would guide our tongues and speak through the people that come on it, and continue to allow Brooks to facilitate these good conversations and share his heart, Lord. You've given him such a gift that he's able to do that, Lord. And Lord, I just want to pray for my football guys back home as well. And Lord, they're in like day 5 or something now, but all the football guys in camp, Lord, I think, I don't know, I just love the football. I love the football. I know I'm a wrestler, but the football guys just pull on my heart in a different way. The athletes and everybody going on to college campuses, but Lord, just want to pray you'd fill them up and the stamina or strength, or you know them so well, whatever it is they need, and keep them going. And for everybody, and for mental health in this country, Lord, I pray that this nothing problem that we've been facing in this country, that you would fill that void with nothing and fill it with everything. Everything you are. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen.
Amen.
That's episode 7, brother. Wrapping up about 12:45 a.m.
How do we start?
I don't know. We've been doing it for a while, though. But couple hours, man. But, hey, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
I'm glad you joined, and this will not be the last time you're on. But episode 7 in the books.
Cool.